Philippines. My name is John Patrick S. Velosa, the class president, the leader of the Group 4, and also the anchor for this news report. And this is LDM News, where you can find information, motivation, and inspiration for the aspiring leader of this generation. Ladies and gentlemen, our topic for today is motivation, satisfaction, and performance. And these are our journalists and reporters who will report this news report and came from different part of the Philippines. Assistant Group Leader Maxine Ochoa, Presentation Director Kyla Denise Pedregosa, Secretary Fraulin Jures Alano, Treasurer Edlaine Olaez, Game Master Eunice Santander, Assistant Presentation Director John Mervin Pasarin, Assistant Secretary Julian Ande, and Assistant Game Master and Acting Assistant Leader Kyle Muyot. Let me first read to you our output. There are many lessons and knowledge that are here in this report that will help us as an aspiring leaders to know what are the important things to do, have a successful relationship to others, and also successful leadership. First, we are going to talk about the Gallup organization polls that will explain the employees' work hour improvements and effects to the GDP of the country. Next, we will discuss the importance of motivation in the leadership and also its definition. And we will gonna talk about the importance in performance and also its connection with the behavior. Next, we are going to tackle job satisfaction and employee engagement, and also the relationship among leaders, job satisfaction, and performance. We will also gonna talk about the 5 basic types of needs that will motivate people from Maslow hierarchy of needs, and also the 5 motivational approaches. Next, we will talk about the important things that leaders must do boost the motivation, performance and effectiveness and subordinates, and the achievements of orientation. Next, we will talk about the methods to change the direction and intensity of persistence, behavior, and macro psychological components. And next, we will tackle the empowered employee, and lastly, the aspect of the follower's performance. Okay. Based on the report that I have received in my studio, an American analytics and advisory company that is based in Washington, D.C., named the Gallup organization, performed a Gallup polls to determine what will happen if a company will get 3.7% more work out of each employee. The result of the polls is enormously incredible because 3.7% of 8 hours, which is a regular shift of an employee, is 18 minutes. And this kind of strategy can greatly impact the GDP, or the gross domestic product of the US, and it will gross by $355 billion, or twice the total GDP of Greece. And it reminds all of us what Richard Branson said: a company employees are its greatest asset and your people are your products. Now we will talk about our introduction. And let's start with this one. Being a leader, one of the most important or momentous abilities that you must have is the ability to inspire and motivate your subordinates, because it will give you an indestructible and well-built connection to raise a cohesive and goal-oriented and successful teams that will give you a significant results. And next, difference in works and specialization or work output can vary significantly across leaders and followers. And next, if you want to have a motivated and well-satisfied followers, you must first know how to understand each of your followers' personality, weaknesses, and strength, so that as a leader, you know how to deal with them well, and you know how to improve themselves for the sake of their performance and for the sake of the company's and members' relationship and result of the performance. Next, we will tackle about the motivation and also the performance. Motivation is one of the greatest action when you want to cheer up an employee in the greatest extent in order to see their improvements and help them to get the best out of them. In order to do that, as a leader, you must Provide three things to your subordinates, and that's our direction, intensity, and persistence. This three will help your subordinates' behavior and action, and also for the performance. Performance is very important in a team or in a big corporation because it is the performance that will tell if the team or corporation is an effective and successful one. Because it talks about the result of all the hard works and efforts that the team gives in their works, or layman's term, it is the showtime. And what is the connection of behavior and the performance? Let's talk about it. Behavior has an important role in performance because the goal and the product and services depends to the behavior of the teams. So as a leader, you must improve the behavior of your subordinates because it will determine your performance. The judgment is all about the satisfaction of the behavior or the level of the behavior towards a certain criteria. Enough level of motivation may be needed, but it will be extinguished when we connect it to performance and effectiveness. Listening, once again, I am John Patrick S. Veloso, your anchor, and reporting all the way from LDM Studio. And for the next reporter, we have Kyle Muyot, all the way from Quezon City. Mr. Kyle Muyot, good afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. Good day to all our listeners. I am Kyle Muyot, your acting assistant group leader and assistant game master. And we're reporting live at Quezon City, while we are also being broadcasted live at the LDM News Studio, California, USA. To further discuss motivation, satisfaction, and performance, we must first look into how we are satisfied with our jobs. Job satisfaction, in definition, is how one would be interested in a specific job or activity. Now, I would like to add the famous quote of Mark Twain about the nature of liking your job. And I quote, "Find the job you enjoy doing, and you will never have to work a day in your life." If you're really passionate about your job, you're more likely to develop organizational citizenship behavior. So what could organizational citizenship behavior mean? It is the person's voluntary commitment within an organization or company that is not part of his or her contractual tasks. In contradiction, studies have shown that employee engagement has replaced job satisfaction over the past few years. By definition, employee engagement is a form of productivity in which people are being committed and enthusiastic about their assigned tasks. To summarize, it is only with the power of the best leaders where they can motivate employees to perform at their best, at the same time possessing a high level of job satisfaction and employee engagement. Here we will interpret the diagram on how interconnected leadership is with job performance. First, we're going to talk about leadership behavior with the proper use of motivational techniques. It then produces both follower performance and follower motivation, satisfaction, and engagement. Now, talking about follower performance, it also affects customer satisfaction and loyalty, thus producing a high amount of unit or term effectiveness. It also in return produces follower motivation, satisfaction, and engagement. When talking about that, it also produces three important things. First is organizational citizenship behavior that also, again, influences follower performance, follower retaliation, and follower turnover. Lastly, we're going to talk about understanding and influencing follower motivation. In defining motivational theories, it is more useful in certain situations, but not always not applicable in all. Leaders that know about their different motivational theories are highly likely to choose the right theory for a particular subordinate, given the situation when a leader chooses the best theory. Its results can yield high-performing, satisfied, and engaged employees. When diving down into performance problems, certain factors can be attributed to it, such as unclear expectations, skill deficits, resource or equipment shortages, or a lack of motivation. It is also noted that leaders experience the most difficulty in recognizing and correcting problems because it sees employees as a whole. That concludes my report. Thank you for listening. Once again, I am Kyle Muyot, reporting live from the LDM News. Back to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle Muyot, for that very wonderful report of yours. Now let's proceed for the next reporter, Ms. Kyla Denise Pedregosa, all the way from Quezon Province. Ms. Kyla, Good afternoon.
Thank you, Kyle and Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kyla Denise Pedregosa, and I will be discussing how these factors affect motivation. First is needs. Leadership practitioners can get followers to engage in and persist with certain behaviors by correctly identifying and fulfilling their needs. Second is achievement orientation. To improve group performance, leaders should select only followers who both possess the right skills and have a higher level of a personality trait called achievement orientation. Third is goal setting. It is the most familiar and easiest formal systems of motivation. Setting clear performance targets and then helping followers create systematic plans to achieve them. Operant approach. So how do rewards and punishment affect motivation? Reward is any consequence that increases the likelihood of a particular action to be repeated. Punishment is the administration of an adversive stimulus or the withdrawal of something desirable, each of which decreases the likelihood of a particular behavior to be repeated. Finally, empowerment. It is the final approach to motivation. It is about delegation and accountability. When needs are not met, people engage in certain behaviors to satisfy them. Leadership practitioners can get followers to engage in and persist with certain behaviors by correctly identifying and fulfilling their needs. So, it is about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, we will start at the bottom, which is the physiological needs. It is the most instinctive needs because all needs are secondary until these needs are met. It is the most basic needs that are vital to survival, such as sleep, air, food, and water. Second is safety needs. It is the need for security and protection. When physiological needs are met, our safety needs dominate our behavior. These needs have to do with our natural desire for a predictable, orderly world that is somewhat within our control. One example is safety, shelter, law, regulation and order, stability, and health. Third is love and belongingness needs. To achieve self-actualization, it needs realizing personal potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth, and big experiences through affiliation with people that can help achieve the highest need. Example, friendship, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love. Fourth, esteem needs. It refers to the need for respect, self-esteem, and self-confidence. Esteem are the basis for the human desire we all have to be accepted and valued by others. And last is the self-actualization needs. It is the highest level and refer to the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth, and big experiences. It is described as the level on which we desire to accomplish everything so that one can become the most that one can be.
Thank you, Ms. Kyla Denise Pedregosa, for that very wonderful report of yours. Now let's proceed for the next reporter, Mr. Julian Ande, all the way from Kalinga. Mr. Julian Ande, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Julian Ande, and before I show you my report, I'm going to show you my home province, which is Tabuk City, Kalinga. Sama ka sa biyahe ko.
And lose all sense of time. I'm moving far away to a sunny place where it's just you and me. Feels like we're in a dream. You know what I mean.
Good afternoon. My name is Julian Ande, the Assistant Secretary of Group 4, currently reporting all the way from Northern Luzon in the province of Kalinga, and this is my report. So today I am going to be talking about the needs that drive employees who perform non-routine work. So what is a non-routine work? Non-routine work are jobs and tasks that are performed irregularly or being performed for the first time. Okay, so first one on the list is autonomy, the independence of one's thoughts or action, which means that as an employee who works irregularly, you need to be independent in your actions. The next one on the list is mastery. As an employee who performs non-routine work, you must need to have a comprehensive knowledge or skill on what you do, especially if you do it irregularly. The last one on the list is meaning. As an employee who works irregularly, you need to find what is meant by your actions. Okay, so moving on to the next part of my report, which is achievement orientation. So according to Atkinson, he thinks that the amount of effort that will be exerted by a person to accomplish a task depends on the amount of his and her motivation. For example, you joined an online tournament or a competition. You join the competition knowing that you will gain something in the competition if you win, so you will exert more effort on the competition. So Macaland further developed Atkinson's idea, and he said that individuals with a strong need for achievement strive to accomplish socially acceptable endeavors and activities. Okay, so moving on, I am now going to explain the 5-factor model or the ocean model of personality dimension of consciousness. So the first one on the list is openness. It is the lack of restriction or it is the acceptability of something. One on the list is conscientiousness. It is the quality of wishing to do one's work or duty well and thoroughly. Third one on the list is extroversion. Extroversion is a personality trait typically characterized by outgoingness, high energy, and or talkativeness. On the list is agreeableness. Agreeableness is a personality trait manifesting itself in individual behavioral characteristics that are perceived as kind, sympathetic, cooperative, warm, and considerate. Last one on the list is neuroticism. It is more likely than average to be moody and to experience such feelings as anxiety, worry, fear, anger, frustration, envy, jealousy, guilt, depressed mood, and loneliness. Moving on to my report, we are now going to be talking about goal setting 1. Involves setting clear performance targets and helping followers create systematic plans to achieve them. It is when a leader must set a clear instructions to the subordinates and help them to plan and execute the plan to achieve the goal. According to Locke and Latham, goals are the most powerful determinants of tasks behaviors. It measures how motivated the person in doing its job. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, my name is Julian Ande, reporting all the way from Kalinga.
Thank you, Mr. Julian Ande, for the very wonderful report of yours. Now let's proceed to the next reporter, Ms. Eunice Santander, all the way from Caloocan City. Ms. Eunice Santander, good afternoon.
So thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Eunice Nicole Santander, and I'm your TV master for today, reporting all the way here from Caloocan City. I know you guys are wondering about what's the tea for today, and it's all about goal setting. But before we get into the topic, let's talk about first what is goals. I know all of my viewers and listeners here have already set their goals, right? So if you're going to ask me how do I define goals, well, for me, goals are what take us forward in life. It's like they are the oxygen to our dreams, and it gives us the direction towards on what we want to achieve in the future. They are the first steps to every journey that we take, so it's very important for us, or each one of us, to realize the significance or the importance of goal setting and how we would apply this in every aspect of our lives, including in the work, to relationships, and everything in between. One of the most familiar and easiest formal systems of motivation to use with followers is goal setting. So what is goal setting? From the leader's point of view, it involves setting clear performance targets and helping followers create systematic plans to achieve them. And what is systematic plans? It's a planning process that we need to follow in order to achieve what we want to achieve in the future. According to Locke and Latham, goals are the most powerful determinants of task behaviors. What does it mean? If a follower is motivated to do whatever he or she needs to do, of course, she will strive hard in order to achieve or to reach the goal that was given by his or her superior. Let us make ourselves as an example, or you, my viewers, as an example. You as a student, specifically an accountancy student, you have the goals, right? Some of you may want to be a CPA or a lawyer or a CEO of a company, but what you need to do in order to achieve those things or to have those titles? Of course, you study. But what if you fail? But if hindi nasunod yung plano to achieve that goal, what are you going to do next? Of course, you will study harder and smarter than you did before. Lack and Leiram also identify the following common aspects of goal setting. The first one is goals that were both specific and difficult resulted in consistently higher effort and performance when contrasted to do your best goals. In a work setting, if we are given a task that is complicated, what are we intended to do? Of course, we hustle hard, right? We strive hard, we put all our efforts just to hit the goal. But in the other hand, if our superior just tell us that just do your best or do what you can do, there's a tendency that the best that we knew is enough is not what our superior is expecting. So goals drive this higher performance through four mechanisms. First, goals focus attention and effort toward goal-relevant activities and away from other activities. Second, goals energize individuals to exert greater effort on more challenging goals. The third one is goals increase the level of persistence that individual will display in order to achieve the goal. And finally, goals indirectly are the arousal, discovery, and our use of knowledge relevant of the task. Second one is goal commitment is critical. An example, you are the leader. You set goals not just to yourself but to the whole company. And setting goals isn't enough. Before a goal can be motivating to an individual, one must accept the goal. Accepting a goal is the first step in creating motivation. Goal commitment is a degree of determination one uses to achieve an accepted goal. Commitment is related to goal intensity, or the amount of thought or mental effort that goes into formulating a goal and how it will be attained. For example, you may have a bright, junior level employee who is eager for any opportunity to reach the next level in their career. If you tell them how your project will give them skills and experiences that will propel them forward, they'll be much committed than if you said them how the project would help the company to reach its objectives. The third one is followers exerted the greatest effort when goals were accompanied by feedback. As humans, we all want like we belong and are appreciated. In a work context again, this means feeling like there is a value to what we do and what we bring to the business, and knowing that we are part of a wider team all working towards the same goals. And this knowledge that we are useful and valued gives us a sense of purpose. It shows that there is a meaning to what we do. Giving regular feedback is one way that we can show employees that they are valued and useful. Even negative feedback can spur people on to want to do better. It helps people learn from their mistakes and builds confidence. Any constructive feedback, when delivered properly, it can strengthen positive behavior, reinforce to anyone that there is a point to what they are doing, correct any negative performance, and ensure a strong culture remains in your team. A leader's implicit and explicit expectations about goal accomplishment can affect the performance of followers and teams. The first one is Pygmalion effect. Occurs when leaders express high expectations for followers. Pygmalion effect, also known as Rosenthal effect, is the phenomenon whereby higher expectations lead to an increase in performance. Example, you as a student. Some of your parents have a high expectation towards you that leads you to study hard because you don't want to disappoint them. Like in a workplace, the leader has big expectancy towards his subordinates because he believes
abilities of his subordinates.
when someone else expects something negative, does it have an impact on your performance? According to the Golem effect, it really can. Negative expectations by supervisors, teachers, and even from yourselves can have a negative impact on your performance. I just want to share a little background about the column and where does it came from. According to the Jewish folklore in 16th century, Judah Loew ben Bezalel, a rabbi from Prague created a golem from clay to protect the city. Unfortunately, the golem became corrupt and went about destroying the very city and it had been created to protect. Eventually, it had to be destroyed by its creator.
So example,
Try your best to do a task and yet it gets no recognition. This is not only serves as a blow to your self-esteem, but you also fail to garner the enthusiasm to complete the task. The golem effect, which results in less attention, less feedback, or praise and bad facilities, can serve a demotivating factor for any individual, whether he or she in school, the workplace, or in any other organization. Even in places where the supervisors do not verbally express these negative expectations, but communicate it non-verbally, the results of the golem effect can be observed. But to counter its effect, managers or teachers need to communicate positive and optimistic feelings towards their employees or students. This is the key to motivating and increasing the efficacy of an individual. Other than this, an individual needs to motivate himself by enjoying the task he or she does, rather than seeking extrinsic motivation in the form of praise or pay raise. The person should seek achievement and power. This would lead to better performance, and soon to the golem demon can be exercised by the people who have been labeled poor performers. Thank you for listening, everyone. Again, I am Eunice Nicole Santander, your T-Game Master for today. Back to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Miss Eunice Santander, for that very wonderful report of yours. Now let's proceed for the next reporter, Mr. Johan Carl Artacho, all the way also from Caloocan City. Mr. Johan Artacho, good afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. Hello, everyone. My name is Johan Artacho, reporting from Caloocan City, and now I would be reporting on operant approach. So, the thing about operant approach is that it is the implementation of rewards and punishment that affects the behavior of the team. So, first we got rewards, which are consequences that increase the likelihood that a particular behavior will be repeated. They're basically incentives that would motivate a person to keep doing what is right. On the other hand, punishments are the exact opposite of rewards. It is the administration of an aversive stimulus or the withdrawal of something desirable to decrease the likelihood of repeating a particular behavior. They are penalties with the purpose of discouraging people for doing what is wrong. So there are two ways of applying this reward/punishment system. So first, contingent rewards and punishment are administered as consequences of a particular behavior. This way is highly encouraged compared to the latter, which is non-contingent. Their rewards and punishments are not associated with any particular behavior. Yes, that means should anyone be rewarded or punished, no one would actually know why, and that would cause problems. Anyway, behaviors that are not rewarded may eventually be eliminated through the process of extinction. In other words, people would stop caring about doing something if there is nothing in it for them. Motivational theories are useful in certain situations but not as applicable in others. You can't use the same technique all the time, you know. You've got to have some variety. Take note, leaders who know about different motivational theories are more likely to choose the right theory for a particular follower and situation, and that choosing the best theory may result in higher performance and more satisfied and engaging employees. It's situational after all, and that there's the fact that people have different sources of motivation. Be warned though, performance problems can be attributed to unclear expectations, skill deficits, lack of resources or equipment shortages, or even lack of motivation, in which leaders have the most difficulty in recognizing and correcting motivations problems for. Now, regarding what was said earlier, here's how you effectively perform the operant approach when motivating your team. You have to clearly specify what behaviors are important. You have to establish the do's and don'ts if you're going to make a reward system. Next, you have to determine if those behaviors are currently being punished, rewarded, or ignored. That being said, you need to find out what your followers find rewarding and punishing. Their varying morals are a great source of ideas. You can't be the only one who gets to say what is right or what is wrong. Now, be wary of perceptions of inequity when administering individually tailored rewards though. Do not make it appear as if there's favoritism going on. Remember, one should not be limited to administering organizationally sanctioned rewards and punishments. You had an agreement on what you and your followers find rewarding and punishing. Keep that in mind. Lastly, when administering rewards and punishment, try to be as contingent as possible. Do not get carried away with rewarding and punishing people for reasons your followers don't know. Moving on, we have the empowerment approach, where you basically give people autonomy and latitude to increase their motivation for work. It uses the white theory of thinking, where you assume people are motivated and work on their own, hence why you trust them with responsibilities. So the key components are that, first, leaders who wish to empower employees should delegate leadership and decision-making down to the lowest level possible. Everyone must have a chance to have a say in decision-making, since you did give everyone responsibility. Second, leaders should equip followers with resources, skills, and knowledge necessary to make good decisions. It makes sense since you wouldn't want to entrust someone who's lacking with doing important tasks. Now, in terms of macro-psychological components, we have motivation, the thing that makes people do things, what makes people act, their driving force. Then we have learning, the process of acquiring skills and knowledge. And lastly, stress, the mental tension kind. Thank you for listening once again. I am Johan Artacho from Caloocan City, and back to you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Johan Carl Artacho, for that very wonderful report. Now let's proceed for the next reporter, Miss Frauline Olaño from Naga Camarines Sur. Miss Frauline, good afternoon.
Hello guys, I am Frauline Olaño and I will be reporting about the empowerment. So we have here is the micro-psychological component. We have four of this: the self-determination, meaning, competence, and influence. So first we have is self-determination. This allows people that they have control over their choices in life. This is important that refers to each person's ability to make choices and manage them. Next we have is meaning. An employee or leaders need to know their roles and importance in a company. In short, they need to know the meaning of their job. And next is the competence. Example of this is to know if a person have ability or skills to perform their designated job. And lastly is the influence. Having an influence can help us build a successful team because you as a leader have an influence in them. Example of this is helping your team to become a better version of themselves than yesterday. Just like what I've said earlier, empowered employees are important for growing an effective company. They have latitude to make decisions that are comfortable in making this decision, and they see themselves as an important member of the team. Leaders can often see positive changes in followers' motivation led by restricting work process and procedures. Example of this is eliminating the "let me ask my boss first." This is testing the frontline employee decide his or her own decision without asking the boss. Resistant leaders can help followers work through initial process and procedures by showing support, provide training, and by rewarding them. And that's all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frauline Olaño, for that very wonderful report. Now let's proceed for the next reporter, Mr. John Mervin Pasarin, all the way from Quezon City, reporting. Mr. John Pasarin, good afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. I am John Mervin Pasarin, reporting here from Quezon City, and I am about to report the follower performance. So, behaviors directed toward the accomplishment of team or organizational goals. So, these are the aspects of follower performance. First, it is important for leaders to understand the team and organization goals, as this will indicate the type, intensity, and duration of follower behavior needed for goal accomplishment. So knowing the goals of the organization is such an advantage for the company since the employees will know where they need to adjust in order to fit to the company. The second is leaders need to understand the context or situation in which these behaviors need to be exhibited. So as a leader, knowing the situation of the organization needs to be considered in order to know where to make an adjustment of the company. So obviously, if you know something about a particular field, you have an advantage or what to do. It lessens the time allotted on it because you already have an experience about it. So leaders should be proficient in the following components of performance management cycle when working with followers to accomplish group or organizational goals. So what is performance management cycle? It is a model that allows management and employees to better achieve organizational goals through a structured process of employee development. So in this cycle, you and your co-workers can monitor the progress and development of each and every one of you to give also idea on where or what factor do you need to adjust for the benefit of your organization. So these are the stages of performance management cycle. First is planning. In planning, it involves the overall strategy of the business, the objectives, and the goals of the company. If all of these are settled down already, it is now time to meet and discuss with each other. The second stage is monitoring. Monitoring is usually done once or twice a year, or it depends on the management. It is the way on how you monitor the employees and what do they need or where to adjust. Third is the evaluating. So from the word evaluate, this stage is usually done by the end of the year or a period. In this stage, it is where the employees will check if they met the goal or objective they need to. So again, I am John Mervin Pasarin from Quezon City. Back to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. John Mervin Pasarin, for that very wonderful report of yours. Now let's proceed for our last reporter, Edlane Olaes, all the way from Tanza, province of Cavite. Edlane, good afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Edlane Olaes, treasurer of the group, reporting all the way from Tanza, province of Cavite. So we're going to discuss today the important aspects of team or organizational effectiveness and the whole summary of this chapter. So to begin off, let me ask you a question first. Is it necessary for a leader to define or set goals in the company? So the answer is absolutely yes. Leaders need to define team goals in certain situations as it will serve as their vision that allows organization to flourish goal achievement. It is a must for a leader to determine goals because this will serve as their basis or measurement of something they want to achieve. In particular situations, effectiveness could be measured through achieving goals. So what do we mean by criterion contamination? So this occurs when effectiveness measures are affected by factors unrelated to follower performance. These are the factors that are not related to the employees. So meaning these are the external factors of the organization. It is influenced by something other than the performance related to the construct. So for example, these are the differences in sales or region, machine breakdowns, and all. So next is leaders need to ensure that followers understand how their performance contributes to the goals of the team. It is an important element that they know that they are making an impact on their organizational achievement. And last, it is a must to publish a team scorecard to showcase or formulate concrete and specific goals with timelines and benchmarks of measuring their success. So that would be all. Moving on, let's now proceed with the summary of the chapter. So first, leaders' action can and do affect followers' motivation level as it brings impact to followers' behavior, which leader provides direction and intensity to them that builds a strong relationship and connection. Motivation, performance, and effectiveness should not be treated as one as it has a different concept to take. Many leadership practitioners equate these three, but as we pointed out earlier, it has a different concept. So practitioners must be clearly identify the behavior related to motivation, performance, and effectiveness. Leaders are tasked with effectively guiding their goal while considering team members' skills necessary to produce desired output. Followers need to be observed and give feedback every now and then, as this will help them to manage the factors that impact organizational structure. Moreover, leaders should engage in observation and performance discussion to ensure that the desired behavior is demonstrated. Lastly, it is a must for a leader to differentiate low and high performers in the company, as this will gain awareness to become conscious of the actions that might take. Individuals have different sets of goals and functions in the company, and through that, leaders need to distinguish and administer rewards fairly. That would be all. Thank you for listening. I am Edlene Alaez, reporting all the way from Cavite. Back to you, Patrick.
Thank you for listening. Once again, we are the Group 4, and this is LDM News, wherein you can find inspiration, information, and motivation for the aspiring leader of this generation. Good afternoon and goodbye.